Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. I did a video yesterday in which I suggested that the rules for the Scottish Parliament are not strong enough. An MSP cannot report himself, for example, for breaching standards. I picked up on this because of Matheson going on about how he will report himself, but there's no mechanism to do that. So it was just a sop to the press and to the public to make it look as though he's a concerned person with self-integrity, when it turns out he's a two-faced smug wanker who knows he's going to try and get away with it. No, he's not. This story isn't going away. However, I suggested the rules need to change, that one MSP can report another MSP, and that the body that investigates has teeth, can remove them and disbar them, and basically give them a 3 strikes and you're out, and you have to resign from politics in full. You're deemed to be improper person to hold authority. Now, that's just what I suggested. And then late yesterday evening, it turns out that the Tories have suggested the same thing. Now, I'm not claiming credit for it, but it would be nice to think that a Scottish Conservative MSP, or one of his policy wonks, has watched the channel, picked up on what I've said, and sort of whispered it, worm-tongued it into the ears of the relevant MSP. One would hope. It would be fantastic if that was the case, but it will mean that the likes of Matheson can't hide behind what are described as rigid rules in order to get away with his nefarious wankery. Let's have a look at the story. Here goes. So, Michael Matheson and SNP accused of hiding behind Parliament's rigid rules, as a letter is sent to the presiding officer. And this letter, of course, came, as I say, from the Tories. Now, I happen to know that a certain person very high up in the Labour Party Scottish Labour, does watch the channel. I happen to know that. And she's very welcome. And I thank you, Dame Jackie. But it would be nice to think that there's some senior Conservatives who watch it as well. Serious concern about upholding ministerial standards have been raised by the Scottish Conservatives, who've called for answers, not only about the iPad scandal, but also to the many hurdles to scrutiny. Yeah, I mean, every time you want to ask these people a question, there's always a rule that stops it happening, or they won't turn up, or you've run out of parliamentary time, or the presiding officer is only prepared to give you 5 minutes rather than a full debate, etc. And it seems very inappropriate for these guys to hide their absolute sort of either corruption, ineptitude, stupidity, ignorance, criminality, or degeneracy behind these rules. These rules need to be strengthened. They need to be made much more available to be utilised. And the teeth of the inspection body or the investigative body need to be extremely long and extremely sharp, because they need to be able to administer some form of discipline and some form of justice for these liars. And it isn't just the SNP. We all know all politicians lie. Everybody lies. I know I don't. And it's a case of just making sure that they can actually be held to account on occasions, and the truth will come out. It's either lying directly, lying by omission, lying by subjectivity, lying by statistical anomalies. But lies are part and parcel of politics. And if we accept that that's the case, then we may as well not have politics, because we know that everything they say will be lies. It must be strengthened. There must be honour, integrity and truth. Without them, what is the point? The Scottish Tories have written to Holyrood's presiding officer to express frustration after Michael Matheson backed down from another ministerial statement on an iPad scandal, the iPad scandal. The SNP minister stands accused of hiding from scrutiny, because of course he did. The other day, he made sure that all the press were actually tied back behind, so that when he came through, they couldn't come up to him and ask him questions. Oh, security issues, I said. And they basically got rid of the press under the guise of security issues. Actually, that's not the truth. The guise was he was shitting himself from being questioned. Matheson has been asked to address the ongoing controversy over his credibility as a minister since the £11,000 data roaming bill was discovered, and he blamed his family for withholding the true explanation, a version of events that's led to allegations he misled Parliament and the press. Everyone. Well, it's not allegations, he definitely did. By his own words, he misled people. That is no longer even questionable. The man is a proven liar. But he's also a coward, craven, hiding, won't answer the questions. And we all know why. Because he's ashamed of what's on that iPad. It's why he won't give it up for inspection. You have to ask, what is so bad on there? And of course, everyone knows what they think. I know what I think. I know what a lot of people think. And a lot of people are thinking very young people. That's where your mind would go with the SNP, given their obsession with children. Anyway, Alison Johnson has now been asked to clear up the situation after the Health Secretary said there was no need for him to make a statement. I believe there's every need for him to make a statement. Now, he's inept as a minister. He's overseeing one of the worst sort of failures in the NHS, where it's now as bad today in the sort of middle of autumn as it was at the height of winter last year. How bad is it going to be when winter actually kicks in this year? So he's failing as the minister. But then he's also a proven liar and making fraudulent claims for expenses that he's run up. And if you're making a fraudulent claim, that makes you a thief. I mean, there's no doubt what the man is. His credibility is shot. His honesty is gone. Nobody believes a word he's saying. He has to resign. But he also has to stand and tell the truth, either here or in a court. Speaking at Holyrood, fellow Tory MSP Craig Hoy said the Parliament appears toothless. And this is what I was saying yesterday. He said topical questions have been rejected. Urgent questions have been refused. Debate requests have been dismissed. A request for a further statement received. The response that such a statement would be inadmissible, and all while the facts keep changing. No, the facts don't keep changing. What happens is more and more truth comes out that means they have to change the lies they're telling. A meeting is due to take place with the Scottish Parliament corporate body on Thursday, after they indicated that self-referral is not available for ministers according to the Deputy Presiding Officer. Mr Hoy, speaking at Holyrood, said it is now abundantly clear that the SNP are in an industrial cover-up, closing ranks to avoid the truth getting out. We have it on record that the First Minister, the Deputy First Minister and the Health Secretary have all misled this chamber in recent times, and nothing has happened. The SNP are all liars. We know this. This is nothing new. They lie about everything. And when they're caught out, they lie about the lies they've told. Nothing is true with them. Nothing. Hoy went on to say, there's been no corrections, no apologies, no proper investigations. Deputy Presiding Officer, I cannot understand how this meets the obligations of our standing orders, which ensure that the code of conduct is followed by members regardless of how senior their position in government. Words and standards apparently count for nothing for this SNP government. The Health Secretary has been accused by journalists of lying to the Scottish press. This chamber and the Scottish public deserve to know the truth on this charge. But sadly, it is increasingly clear that Scottish ministers are hiding behind this Parliament's rigid rules and inflexible painting to evade investigation and interrogation, he added. The Conservatives have threatened to lodge a motion of no confidence at him in Holyrood. It was expected to be yesterday, actually. Surprised it didn't come. Saying there are still unanswered questions about his actions, while senior MSPs continue to come out in support. However, Justice Secretary Angela Constance became the latest senior SNP figure to come to the defence of her embattled colleague, insisting, I do have confidence in Michael Matheson. Now, here's a great one. She's in charge of justice. And if it turns out that Matheson is, let's just say, in the possession of images or video, or has been visiting sites where there are images and video, then she also would have to resign. Because as the Minister of Justice, she's backing a man who broke some of the most degenerate laws possible. Michael Matheson, she said, has made a very public and full statement. Yes, but the statement wasn't full, and it wasn't an apology, and it wasn't anything near the truth. He has apologised unreservedly in order to keep his job, but he didn't actually mean it, fingers crossed, you know. He's paid the £11,000 that was incurred as a result of roaming charges, has he? Have we seen the receipt for that yet? Not yet published, I don't think. And he himself acknowledges that things could have been handled better. So he admits then that he should have done the right thing in the first place, rather than snided, sleek it, and hidden, and stole, and lied. Sure, I agree with that. He says, but what I think he's doing needs to be done. Yeah, what he needs to do is resign. And also the rest of them, every single one who lied. You're all liars. You're all covering up the truth. None of you can be trusted. Every time you open your mouths, people know you're lying. Mr. Burnett, MSP for Aberdeenshire West, said in his letter that he'd seen by the Scottish Express, at no point in the meeting was there any challenge made to the admissibility of the statement I had requested by either the minister or the parliamentary officials, nor would I expect there to be, given the subject matter of the statement requested referring to the ministerial code and his duties as Cabinet Secretary for NHS Recovery, Health and Social Care. We've now received an email response from the Minister declining the statement request by stating it's not admissible. The email received from the Minister also uses Mr Matheson's self-referral to the SPCB as justification for not scheduling a statement, yet it comes after Parliament has confirmed that no such process even exists. Again, more lies and spin from the biggest wanker in Parliament, a man who throws his own children under the bus to hide his own nefarious details. Liam MacArthur, the Deputy Presiding Officer, said the SPCB will issue a statement following their meeting in relation to the Code of Conduct. He's trying his very best to get away with his Moroccan wankery, sitting there watching whatever he was watching, knocking one out. Rigid rules. He had a rigid time in Morocco. He just doesn't want you to know what was making him so very rigid, because he knows it would probably put him in jail. I'm coming up. They're liars and thieves, the lot of them. All of them. You can't trust any of them. Nothing they say is the truth, and everything they say is a lie. Everything they do is either done in an inept manner or in a corrupt manner. They are organised crime, and they must be got rid of. And one only has to see what they're trying to do with the justice system by bringing in the head of justice into the cabinet and trying to subsume the very control of justice under a government minister. They're trying to bring it in such a way that whatever they do will never be answerable in court. This is a dictatorship happening in front of your eyes. It must not be allowed to happen. They must all be held accountable. They must all be prosecuted, and they must all spend time in prison. One only has to look at the evil that this party has done. I rank them up there with the Third Reich. I'll stop now. Thank you very much for watching. Do pay attention. Do keep an eye on these people. Never believe a word they say, and never, ever trust them, especially not near children. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Goodbye.